Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be looking at the difference between Eternal Gear and Critical Chance and seeing which actually gives more damage at the test dummy. Now I was lucky enough to gain 2 pieces of gear today with the same magic on it for Meteor from running Oblivion Pillars and Terror Rifts. So we're going to test this compared to having a 3% increased Critical Chance and see which gives the most damage overall in my build. Let's go.
So firstly, we're going to take a little look at the Eternal Gear pieces, and then we're going to test them out. So we have Sprite Spark on the chest here, and this has increased combat rating and increased attributes compared to what I'm using. And then the magic, we have Meteor increases damage to enemies by 8% for 3 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. And we also have beneficial effect duration increased by 6%. So regardless of whether or not I was using Meteor, this is actually kind of a better gear piece overall with the attributes and the magic and combat rating as well. So I will probably use this in all of my builds just because it has all of those better attributes and actual magic as well there. So the Meteor will stack with this one. So we have the Blaster Cast, and this only has a 3% increased combat rating, and the attributes sadly are lower. The one that I have equipped has the stun resistance increased by 6% and critical hit chance increased by 3%, whereas the magic on this literally is just the Meteor increased damage. So it's a bit disappointing it doesn't have another attribute or magic attribute like this one. The offhand literally just has the one. However, that will obviously stack with the chest. So I'm guessing it's the 8% that increases to 16%. So what we're going to do first is we're going to not equip the Eternal Gear. We are just going to test out the 2 pieces as they are. So this one will have a 3% more critical hit chance than when I equip the Eternal Gear. And I just want to test and see which is actually stronger, because a lot of people have been mentioning they're having a hard time finding gear with critical chance, and I'm wondering if it's because the Eternal Gear is actually stronger or if they're just trying to push us to use it. So let's do a little 10-second burst here and see how much damage we get. I've actually done 11 seconds because I'm too slow at clicking. And we have 16.1 million damage there from the critical chance gear. So this is just from normal legendary gear. I have no Eternal Gear equipped in this build. The majority of damage is coming from primary attack, and then also surprisingly from ice armor. I didn't realize how much damage that actually deals. I don't normally look at the breakdowns. And then obviously we've got some extra damage here from legendary gems and miscellaneous as well. So I'm guessing that's things like warband buffs and Halikri buffs possibly, although those normally are only in raids, so I'm not entirely sure what the miscellaneous section is. It doesn't work whenever I try and click the information button. But that is the breakdown. We're going to reset this. We are going to test the Eternal Gear as well. So I'm going to go ahead and equip both of these now with the increased damage on Meteor. So this is going to increase damage by 8%, and that stacks. So in theory, that should be giving me 16% increased damage for 3 seconds. So each time you activate Meteor, it will give you that increased damage for 3 seconds. So let's test this out again for a 10-second burst. I'll probably try and do 11 seconds just so that we get an exact side-by-side comparison. And this has given 18.5 million damage. So you can see there's actually a little bit more increased damage there from Meteor, and also on my primary attack as well. So that is obviously where the majority of my damage is coming from, and the Meteor is boosting the damage from my primary attack as well. So that has obviously given over 2 million damage more than the critical chance. So the 3% critical chance obviously hasn't made much of a difference, and the Eternal Gear pieces obviously have. So we're going to swap back and double check. I just want to give it a fair test. So I'm going to check again with the critical chance gear piece. And I'm just waiting a few seconds because obviously all of the legendary gems, they only activate every 20 seconds. So I was trying to leave enough time between to make sure that it is a fair test again. So we're going to try again to do 10-second burst rather than 11 seconds. If we end up with 11, it is what it is. Let's just see. So 10-second again, 16.3 million damage. So it's quite a consistent amount of damage from the piece with the critical chance. So that is basically, I mean, obviously the Eternal Gear pieces have that slight increase on combat rating, but that's not going to be enough to make such a huge difference as the magic attributes do. So let's test again. I did forget to mention as well that for the for this test I'm using the attacker again. So the attacker warband buff. So that's where I think that miscellaneous damage is coming from on the breakdown of damage here. So let's equip these eternal pieces again and test them out again. See if we get the same consistent kind of damage that we have from the critical hit chance on that offhand and from the normal legendary items. So annoyingly, I was too slow at the 10-second mark, and we have an 11-second burst again here, and that has given 18.6 million damage. So pretty consistent with the damage it's actually giving from the normal legendary items and the eternal legendary items as well. I wanted to test them more than once just so that we do get a fair test. I'm going to test this a couple of times with the eternal gear to see if we can actually increase the damage any more than that. I'm also going to test it with the ultimate active, because I don't find the ultimate actually gives that much more damage. I know it's supposed to, but I never really find it actually makes that much of a difference. So we're going to go ahead and test that as well and see if we can get more damage than the 18.5 million. So there we have it. A 10-second burst with ultimate active is no stronger than with ultimate not active. So answers on a postcard if you can tell me why this is, because every time I've tested any kind of build with ultimate active and not active, I never actually see a difference in that. I don't know why. I don't know if there's anything that I'm doing wrong with it, but basically ultimate never seems to give me any increased damage whatsoever. So we're going to keep testing this. I want to test it a few times and see if I can beat that 18.5 million damage. When I tested it this morning, I did get 19.9 million damage. Obviously, I have all of these things active at the top here. So if you want to check what boosts you have active, just click on those little icons underneath your avatar and it will show you that. So let's try another 10-second burst, maybe 11 seconds if my fingers are too slow once again. Let's see how much damage we can get. So okay, that's pretty good. So we've got 20.1 million damage from a 10-second burst using the Eternal Gear. So I'm pretty happy with that. Again, you can see the increase is from Meteor. Also got an increase there from Legendary Gems. So I must have had more of my Legendary Gems active for this one. And a big increase there on my primary attack as well. So I'm going to test these out in another video in side-by-side dungeons. I'm also going to try to get my roiling for star quality, because I'm still trying to get that, and I'm also going to test that out at some point in a video. I want to see if that is going to be better in my build than Seeping Bile, because obviously Seeping Bile has that damage over time, but roiling has the critical chance. So I'm sure I can make my build stronger once I've got that equipped. I also want to make this stronger once I get 4 pieces of that Eternal Gear. But for now, that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.